Welcome into Celtics Late Night. Ben Vallis here along with Jake Eisenberg. And Jake, that was a house party, a housewarming, whatever you want to call it. But then the cops showed up early and they shut it down.
God.
How you doing, Jake?
It's just like super bad. The cops, we've been hanging, Seth Rogen's been hanging out with Jonah Hill all night. It's been in McLovin. Vibes were high. We're lighting cars on fire. Living the good life. And then McLovin ran away. Why did you run away from us, McLovin? Such
Amazing.
a bummer. Dude, like, I was having... Look, you know, this is... having a 10-game lead, 9-game lead in this part of the schedule is weird. Like, because if this was a normal season, like, I would never have expected us to be as good of a season as we could have. I would never have expected us to be 9 games ahead of the 2 seed in the East and 6 games ahead of the West, which is just an absurd distance at this point in the season.
Yep.
So, like, typically, we'd be like, fuck yeah, got to win, needed a win, we got to lock these things up, we're trying to get the 1 seed, but it's like, even in the West now, it's going to be very hard for anyone to catch us, especially with this schedule. So we are looking for pockets of joy, especially when half the roster is out as well. And we had it. We had it in spades in this game. And why is the fucking court? Why is the first row of the stands so close to the court? It happens like 5 times a year. Someone steps on someone's foot next to the court. Why? It can be just 1 foot, 2 feet back.
Well, and we've got a collection of large-footed individuals all sitting there with their large feet extending towards the sideline. We've seen Paul George with the stanchion, probably a decade ago now. Like, what has to happen for us to add in more safety measures for our guys? But we had a lot of fun up until that point. But look, happy St. Paddy's Day for all who celebrate in the States there. Obviously, that was yesterday here in Australia. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to everyone who's piling in here after our friends at the Garden Report wrapped up there and having a good day after just a nice, pleasant walk to a victory for all but Sam Houser, who's probably not walking anywhere for a little while now after that game. But that was a lot of fun. It caps off what is now a 5-game winning streak for the Celtics, 130-104. I don't want to say it got dicey towards the end there when the Wiz cut it to like 22 or whatever they did, but we were struggling to score with the Peyton Pritchard led bench lineup, but they ran away with it in the end there, Jake. And a lot of fun. No Kristaps Porzingis, no Jaylen Brown, no Derek White. And yet, shacked in a pool is something that I heard in our Discord during the game. I also heard it was a pool party, but Houser and JT pissed in the pool and ruined it for everybody on the Wizards. We had a good time.
I feel like Jordan Poole is the one pissing in his own pool most of the time.
Yes.
If anything, Houser and Tatum were bringing the pH levels back into a safe level for a party. And yeah, Jordan Poole actually, he was kind of doing stuff early. He ended up 12 for 19, like 31 points. Ends the game a minus 18 still somehow.
Yeah, somehow. I wonder how that happened. Well, because they got pantsed by the Celtics. But like he does suck. Like
he's awful.
He sucks.
But I mean, that's what's crazy about these guys that suck in the NBA. You can still come out here and hit logo threes and like just a talented basketball player objectively, maybe not relative to the rest of the NBA at this point, because like, yeah, it is a good point here, Ozrai. Like, it is kind of sad. Like, he kind of got bullied into being a shell of himself by Draymond Green, who I'm just becoming less and less of a fan of as time goes on here. But the rest of the lineup too. I mean, Justin Champagnie, old Celtics legend, who previously ruined Summer League for us last year by by pulling a Delano Banton and a Svi Mikhailiuk by ignoring Jordan Walsh possession after possession in the Summer League. He played 36 minutes tonight. Like, this is one of the worst rosters I've seen. Johnny Davis, I mean, maybe one of the worst top 10 picks in the last 10 years. Like, he can't even put up numbers in the G League. Like, just a disaster of a lineup. And look, This is a game I kind of expected the Celtics to come out and have like zero energy, and maybe there's some G Leaguers and fringe guys that come out and play really hard and they keep it close in the first half. Not the case, Ben. RJ in the Discord in the playback was like, we're going to get to 40 in the first quarter. And he was right. We easily got to 40 in the first quarter.
45?
Yeah, and got to 80 in the first half overall. So
yeah, Dick Leip had this after the game. He said that the Celtics have 38-point first halves since January 30 this year, but from 1991 to 2023, they didn't have any in that stretch, which is just an insane disparity, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, this one, like the Celtics just had, like, yes, we had less players playing for this one. Yes, we were playing against the Wizards, who like don't really have a vested interest in winning games, but we still had to go out and win this game, and we just had no problem penetrating their defense, getting into the paint, and then simple moving the ball, drive, kick, swing, buckets, and it just felt like we could get whatever we wanted at any point, whether it was that drive and kick three. You're getting paint touches on every possession, just no resistance from the Wizards defense there, or just like Tatum head down, bully ball, straight to the rim, whatever flavor of offense that we wanted in this game, we could get. And then it leads to guys like Sam Houser just being a little too open for a little too many consecutive possessions. Suddenly he's like hotter than the sun, and that is like the last person you want hitting up to that degree. And it was house money from that point onwards until the cops came and shut it all down. And then on the other hand, like the Wizards' buckets just came with so much more friction and difficulty. Like I would say we put up an average Celtics defensive performance, and that was more than enough to shut down the Wizards. And like you say, Jordan Poole like got some. He did, but like that was kind of their only offense. Just like Jordan Poole ISO or like one pass to shot possessions for the Wizards. Like, they weren't really generating anything more creative than that. So maybe he had some impressive moments in this game, Jordan Poole, but like ultimately it's like disappointing and uninspiring basketball, which is typical of the Wizards. Yeah,
disappointing and uninspiring basketball. That should be the logo or the tagline for Washington fans. That's what a tough existence. Like they finally decide to tank, and it's the year after the Wembanyama year, in a year where there's no prospect at the top that anyone has heard of or cares about. Well, meanwhile, Wemby just dropped 33, 16, and 4 or whatever again in an overtime win against the Brooklyn Nets. Like, and now they finally decide to trade Bradley Beal. Like, there could not be two more diametrically opposed experiences than being a fan of the NBA right now, than being a fan of this Boston Celtics team who can sleepwalk to 30-point wins against good teams like the Warriors, 50-point wins against the Warriors, 30-point wins against the bad teams, and like you can't even feel the team that the other team has heard of. But the first half, like in the first quarter, I mean it was like Tatum I wish would rest, and we'll probably get to that, but I did enjoy him kind of just getting a few reps, getting matched up on mismatches, getting his shoulder past some guys, getting himself to the free throw line, taking some logo threes. Like I was enjoying the Hauser Tatum duel, if anything. Like my favorite record that we're chasing outside of Banner 18 is the Tatum Jalen 30-30 record. So it's like, Durant and Westbrook are ahead, and Shaq and Kobe and MJ and Pippen, I believe. Those are like the 3 duos ahead of us. I think we just started the first next streak, which is the Tatum Houser 30-30 games. So first one of those in the books, and I think if we could chase more Houser Tatum 30-30 games, I'd very much enjoyed that. Like this is good fun.
Yeah, and Sam Houser and Jason Tatum are the first duo in NBA history to score at least 30 points apiece while playing fewer than 27 minutes each.
Oh, there you go.
NBA first. So on Houser, that's probably like the main takeaway from the game is like, hope our buddy Sam Houser's okay, right? Because that might have some long-term implications. And ankle situation undercut by like maybe the spirit of Marcus Smart there, trying to prevent Hauser from catching his Celtics record of 11 threes or whatever it was. He just has the most unfortunate of ankle sprains, the most inadvertent of ankle sprains, has to leave the game, seemed to walk off. Obviously, speculation here. Even like Bobby, who was just on the Garden Report, was like they weren't saying anything about it other than that he was getting precautionary x-rays. Tatum apparently said that he looked fine for whatever that's worth.
Thanks, Tatum.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. I'm going to need more than that to go to sleep tonight, Jake. What do we got?
See, there's just different types of people in the world when it comes to injuries. Like, I've got men's league basketball tomorrow, and I've been playing injured like the whole season with a hip thing. Mm-hmm. And look, no one should play hurt if they don't want to. There's going to be some of my teammates. I'm talking to you out there. That they could probably push through tomorrow night, but they're not going to, and that's fine. But Tatum is not the same as everybody else. He just always plays, and so like him seeing like people walking through the locker room, he's probably like, if Sam's ankle has not been amputated, then maybe he'll be fine for tomorrow's game. Like Tatum is probably the worst possible person to ask about injuries at all on the team. So it's such a Mary Poppins is on it. Such a Tatum response. And he's walking. So just a flesh.
Yeah, he has a pulse. He'll be fine. Yeah. He'll be back tomorrow. Second game of a back-to-back.
That's right.
We do have Tatum talking on the podium after the game about his desire to never sit out of a game.
I've been here 7 years. They understand kind of what they're dealing with. I don't like to sit out. I understand if I was injured or whatever. But I said it before, I just love to play the game, especially on the road. So many fans out there with Tatum 0 jerseys or came to see me play. So I kind of take pride in making sure I'm available as much as I can.
So
that's all well and good, but you have fatigued deep into the playoffs at a younger age, mate. So keep that in mind. That's what I'm saying. What do I do?
First, I'll just address OU's comment. What position do I play? I'm like, I hate to just do the painfully obvious Peyton Pritchard / TJ McConnell description, but just aggressive hustle, high motor, willing shooter, not a good shooter. Probably at around 29% from three on the season here. But
that's great for rec league.
We're getting up good numbers here. Okay, but on the Tatum thing, so Forsberg tweeted out a picture of someone in the stands today with a sign that says, "Tatum, I postponed my surgery to see you play." And I appreciate you doing that. I understand. I'm a big Celtics fan. If I lived in Washington, I'd probably try and delay my surgery so I could see Tatum too. But we got bigger fish to fry this year. All right. Everybody go put your signs away. Stay home. We don't he's going to see this sign. Someone's going to send him this tweet, and he's going to see, this is why I'm playing. He's going to play tomorrow. He's going to miss 0 games for the rest of the season. And it's because of this lady here who postponed her surgery. How dare you?
Don't write the word surgery and Tatum on the same piece of cardboard as well, is what I would say to that. What are you doing?
Agreed.
Think these things through, people. Come on.
Yeah.
But, okay, so we don't really know what's going on with Sam Houser. Obviously, we want him back soon because the more Houser we have, the more, hopefully, in theory, Jake, we can rest the Jays because he is really the extent of our wing depth. If Houser does miss some time, there's a lot of O'Shea, and we love O'Shea. He brings a lot of tenacity and grit. He also brings no spacing, which is kind of what, obviously, we've learned enough about how these Celtics play over the last couple of years and under Joe Mazzulla, what they need in order for their offense to sort of generate good looks. Spacing is the top of that list. And you insert someone like O'Shea. We've even seen it with extended minutes of Tillman. If you introduce a non-shooting threat for extended minutes, defenses are going to start to sort of tighten up on our better shooters like the Jays and make things more difficult. So Houser, the best thing in his role is just making life easier for the Jays. And then sort of the byproduct of that is that he can also knock down open threes like an insane sniper. So he will be missed.
Oh, absolutely. It was obviously, we read a lineup today it was Tillman, Cornette, Brissett, Pritchard, Svi. And that means Pritchard's handling the ball, and then the only spacing you have outside of that is Svi. And you could really feel that. I would love to have it. We got a little taste of it with the Portland game with Pritchard running the show, and I feel he really distributed really nicely. But tonight, you see the garbage time minutes, and sorry, I got distracted by Blow Up asking me to live stream my game. No one.
I now want that more than ever.
Oh man, no one wants.
we have the infrastructure.
Maybe we'll see how. I think I legitimately have to get permission from everybody in the thing to actually do that.
Rightfully
So,
so.
so we'll see. I'll see if I can find some old highlights. We'll get them going there. But like, it's glaringly obvious when we don't have insane spacing. Like, man, this is like everybody in this team is living the good life when it comes to spacing, dude. Like, I mean, obviously there's no Porzingis, and he kind of really takes the roof off as far as spacing goes because he can shoot it from like 30 feet, and teams really respect him from out there. I do think even if we have to play a Brissett instead of a Houser, with Jrue, Derek, Tatum, Jalen, Horford, and then Pritchard, and then you put in Brissett instead of Houser, you're still going to have really nice spacing because of the ability of everybody else to shoot. So not too worried about it. We got requests now for a Jake versus Bobby Manning showdown. Look, this might be happening in Vegas. We're going to try and get a Celtics media game
please,
going.
God. That we will live stream. If that happens, I will ensure that is beamed to the internet with Bobby's permission, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah,
so I mean, but you're absolutely right. Like, Hauser's become like a really important part of the rotation. He's become a really, really good player. And to see what he was doing in this game was like, man, this is the ceiling of this dude. I was almost like maybe it's a spin zone. Good that he got injured. Keep the price of that extension down just a tiny bit here. We can't have him coming to the table to Brad being like single game 3-point record holder, tied with Klay Thompson. You know, that's a tough spot to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Side tangent, classic late night question. We talked about this in the playback room today when Sam Houser was going nuclear. We are going to be able to offer him an extension. There's been the Brad Stevens method here. Mm-hmm. Assuming Brad offers him like a time, like just under the Time Lord range, like a 4 for 44, 11 million per. Sam can either accept that or bet on himself, take the 1.9 million next year as well, and then go into free agency. It's like a weird, because like guys sometimes bet on themselves when they're guaranteed. Like Derek White kind of makes sense to bet on himself because he's actually going to make $18 million in the last year of his contract. Whereas Sam, though, it's kind of a pretty big risk. It's like you're kind of putting aside $40 million locked up, guaranteed, and if you tear your ACL or something like that, you've banked like $6 million on your career and not something massive, you know?
Dude, Sadiq Bey, it just happened. He bet on himself, and unfortunately, it happens. Hope he gets well soon. And ACLs are not what they used to be in the NBA and in professional sports. They are in real life, unfortunately, with the way that my knee's going. But it really depends. I guess with Hauser compared to someone like Sadiq Bey is that the skill set is probably more sustainable. And less physically taxing unless you do backpedal out of bounds onto someone's foot like he did today. That said, the amount of money that Hauser's not made in his career thus far, he's been on just like minimum deals, you throw double-digit millions at him in any capacity, it'd kind of be crazy not to take it, right? Given where he's at. And he's not like crazy young. He's 26, I want to say.
Something like that, yeah. I'll look that up.
So, like, certainly through bird rights and all of that, we can offer him an extension, and we can obviously go over or remain over the cap in this case and re-sign him. And with the way that this team is positioned window-wise, like next year is kind of looked at as the second/final year of the window for this iteration of the team. Like, I think we anticipate basically everyone being brought back, or for the most part, at least from a core roster perspective. So for that reason, extend Sam, bring it back, you pay a hefty tax bill, hefty is an understatement, and then you sort of worry about the fallout the following year and whether or not that means trading Hauser, which he would then be trade eligible, I believe, the year after he extends, or even halfway through it. And you can look at, unfortunately moving guys like Jrue and stuff like that to limit the impact of the tax bill down the line a little bit. But yeah, extend Hauser, bring it back, run everything back next year. Do not deviate from this roster.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, next, it's a good thing we don't have to worry about it next year because I think he'll probably come back better again. But yeah, that's what I was going to say about Rob and DJ Daniel in the chats on it. It's like, thank God Rob Williams took that contract because who knows if he ever gets on the court again, which is sad to say. But look, the good thing is it's an ankle. Chris Middleton took like a month to come back from his ankle. He's old and his healing capabilities seem to be like going down the toilet at the moment. Like the fact that it took him that long to come back from an ankle sprain is pretty concerning. he also was someone that jumped and landed on a shot, and those are also like the worst kinds when you're using like the gravity of landing onto someone. That is worse than like stepping backwards. But so you hope that it's 2 weeks max. Who knows? Hopefully he's got the Tatum gene and he's just good to go for the Bucks game, which would be absolutely amazing. But
I don't want to say he like scurried off, but he was barely assisted off the court. He seemed pretty fine.
Yeah.
So who knows? I would say they're going to be cautionary with it, just like they've been with KP, and we'll get to KP in a little bit because that is still very much open to discussion. It's at least now at the point where we're like, are you sure everything's good? And Joe gave an update on that, which we'll get to. But I want to talk about Tatum a little bit more first, who was kind of the other hero of this game, who came out like completely on fire, played 26 and a half minutes, which you love. And I think I saw you tweet out, Jake, like, you're okay with him playing tomorrow because he kind of got like some form of passive rest in this one because of the limited minutes load. But then 50% from 3 on 12 attempts. Just had some crazy like pull-up threes, super hot from everywhere. We mentioned it was a nice combination of like bully ball, 3-point shooting. And then he had 6 assists in this one, but he had most of them early. So like early in the game, he was just like dishing and diving and really setting up things for success for the Celtics in terms of ensuring a big lead so that he could be pulled and rested in the later stages of the game, which is exactly what happened. This was just a great, fun Tatum game for all the fans.
It was great fun. And like, you remember early in the season when we still cared about the standings because we weren't 10 games ahead of the East?
Yeah.
and Joel Embiid was like, and the Sixers and the Bucks all were playing like it felt like the Wizards and the Pistons night in and night out. And Embiid was always resting in the fourth quarter and having like 34 points after 3 quarters, and they're like, look how great Embiid is, and et cetera, and everybody's like, well, you're playing the Wizards and the Pistons every night. Yeah. It's good to see our superstar just come in and go 36, 6, 2, what did he even, 3 steals, a block in 26 minutes. It's pretty absurd. I know it was a G League team, but like the other stars do it. It's good to see Tatum come out there and make these guys look like they don't belong at all. And I was low-key kind of impressed with his defense tonight. I expected no one to play any defense, but Tatum, I thought, was actually kind of locked in defensively, which is not something I expected and not something I really cared about him even doing tonight. But he did. Maybe he's like, okay, if I'm going to play these games, I'm going to get out of there in 26 minutes. It was surprising to me, but dude, that's just a ridiculous line. 26 minutes, 36, 6, 3, 1, 2 turnovers. I mean, bank that in the superstar bank.
Yeah, I love the free throw attempts as well. 10 trips to the line.
I don't like the 8 out of 10.
Well,
come on. Just make 9.
Well, you have to remember the baseline, right? An 8 of 10 it's kind of like it's an improvement from where he started, right? From where he's, I believe, averaged so far this season.
No, that's below his season average still. I think he's up to like 82.
Is he shooting above 80%?
Yeah.
Man,
yeah, no, it feels like he's at like 74.
Yeah, I was going to say high 60s. No. The very high 60s.
No, that's the other Jay that can't shoot free throws. No, Tatum's at 82.9% on the season. And
surprising.
I know. Just but like, can I get a 9 out of 10? Please.
Just one of those stats where you're like, I'm not going to check it because I know I'm not going to like what I see.
Yeah.
Where else? Okay, so looking at other angles on this one. So we had O'Shea, we had Horford, Houser, starting with Jrue and JT. Jrue was just like steady in this game. I think he maybe took this game the least seriously of everyone, which is like completely understandable and fine and kind of like recommended, right? Like just don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. But I thought this was like, okay, Jrue, he's sacrificed all year long. You know, I'm used to being like number 1, 2 option on the Bucks. Like I went off for 50. He scored 50 against the Pacers last year. Like me, idiot, went more on the Jrue Holiday points total and thinking that he was like, he's going to be his chance. But no, he just cruised along, 3 for 7 and, played some defense. And, man, he really got out of there. 22 minutes. Yeah. He didn't do a whole lot today, which I'm totally fine with. Like, he's probably 3rd on my list of guys that I want resting for the playoffs after KP and Horford as far just from being how old he is. I do actually have some Jrue stats to throw at you broadly because I feel like since the Suns game, everybody's been Actually, well, the last like 15, 20 games, everybody's been like, how great is this Jrue Holiday guy? And Eric Weiss in the chat, you mentioned it last show. You were like, you guys should look into Jrue Holiday's shooting splits. And I'm glad I did because they're pretty insane. So if you can humor me here, I'll lay this out
I'll
for
sit
you.
back and relax. Let's go.
So October to January, so the first 44 games of the season, we were like kind of hot and cold on Jrue, right? Like he was good. He was playing really good defense, but like he just didn't quite feel right. And so first 44 games on shots less than 5 feet, 58.6%. And, you know, compared to the last 15, 20 games, he's at 72%.
It's more
so
like
it's which is pretty honestly elite, but he's just not taking that many in that range. But across the board, all the numbers are like skyrocketed. 10 to 14% feet in the first 44, 35%. Last 15 games, 75%. 20 to 24 feet, 48.1 up to 69.2. And then 25 to 29 feet, 38.5 up to 41. Because I was like, it kind of feels like Jrue Holiday hasn't missed a shot in the past like 10, 15 games. And it kind of checks out. He's shooting 70% on shots 20 to 24 feet, which is just absurd. And the rim, obviously we know all about the corner numbers, which I think is why that number's so high. But like, he's turned into one of the like easily, like maybe the best role player or fifth guy in the NBA, like with a bullet. The fact that he's like the captain of the defense, but also has turned into like a guy that doesn't miss shots at all.
Yeah, and if I had to try and put a finger on why that is, I would say rather than like forcibly going to Jrue. Remember earlier in the season we were like opening games with Jrue Holiday post-ups regularly, and then like we had like the directive through certain stretches of the game was to go through Jrue Holiday and play through Jrue Holiday. Now it feels like rather than going to him, we're finding him, like, or we're letting the ball find him, if that makes sense. And he's sort of finding the ball within the flow of the offense, which I know is kind of a cliche, but it's true, rather than sort of forcibly going, okay, this is a Jrue shot. This is a Jrue possession. He's just kind of like within the flow, of the team's offense as a squad. And it's taken a long time to find that rhythm. And for him, I guess, to buy into the sacrifice. And today affirms that the sacrifice like is complete. That he's like, I could get my shots up today, but it's 22 minutes. It's a quick sit down for me. And while I'm out there, I'm just going to continue to play the right way, no matter the personnel that I'm out there with. So you can sort of see why, based on the on-court product, why those stats have turned around. And 15 games, which I think was the second sample size you were looking at there, Jake.
Yeah.
Like maybe a little small, but that's kind of what we've been focusing on since the All-Star break. Is like, how's everything look since the All-Star break? Whether it's Jalen or whether it's Tatum's pull-ups or in this case, Jrue Holiday. Like, I guess that's the juncture from the season that we've all decided collectively as people who like to talk about the C's focusing on. So 15 games, while a little small, I think it's acceptable given the starting point there being out of the All-Star break. So that's really exciting.
Look, part of that is just on NBA.com. You can filter by 15,
sure,
and that's the max. And so instead of going to dates, so that's the way that I like to do it. But like, also with the All-Star break, we had that extra like kind of week plus off, and so as far as like time goes, that takes us kind of all the way back to like the 1st of February, basically. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so like it's funny even from like a visual experience early in the season, like watching him like at the rim looked quite uncomfortable. Yep. And now watching him like be kind of saucy around the rim, and like even last game against the Suns in the transition. If you haven't seen First of the Floor underrated plays up on YouTube right now, it features this play, Jrue in transition. Cornet sets a screen, Jrue rejects it and does like this saucy behind the back dribble, like one hand push pass right to Cornet's like arms above his head, so he doesn't have to bring it down. And he's just playing with a lot more confidence, and like around the rim, that kind of makes sense that he's just making those shots again, because he knows where he's supposed to be, why he's supposed to be there, and like that's so all of the NBA offense is down basically since the All-Star break, with all the fouls and stuff that they've kind of started to like let more go. The Celtics are just blistering. They've got like 128 offensive ratings since the All-Star break. So every team is down except the Celtics are just murdering everyone.
Well, yeah, and we're allowed to be more handsy in the paint,
Yes.
more physical on the other end as well. So it seems to be benefiting the Celtics, seems to be the early takeaways, or not so early takeaways as the sample size grows, as we said there. Yeah, and the link to that Underrated Players video, it should be in the description below, so check it out. And if you want to watch that video and like and comment on it, that obviously helps us. And while we're on that topic, there's almost 200 people here between YouTube and Twitter. Please hit that like button if you don't mind. That helps put this show in front of more people, helps boost us and put us in favor of the algorithm.
Even if you do mind, just do it anyway.
Yeah, do it anyway, even if it is a problem. And if you're new here, please subscribe to the First of the Fall YouTube channel as well. It's just going to tell your algorithm that you like Celtics content. It's going to give you more Celtics content. Obviously, it's going to put all of ours up front on your YouTube page. Timeline, is that what they call it? I don't know. For you to see.
You're a young
very
man.
savvy
Yeah,
over here.
don't
Very
let
savvy
anybody
over
tell
here.
you anything else. You're young, young guy.
I do expose myself from time to time. It's an aging fella. But anyway, really appreciate it. And really just right now, as we hang out and talk some Celtics, really appreciate you guys hanging out and sticking with us here. We are going to get to a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll come back and we'll talk some more Celtics.
Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's a tournament season or the fight for a playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Prize Picks is really simple to play, and I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Use the code CLNS for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Prize Picks, Jake, a lot of fun. You can sign in before games. It's like daily fantasy sports. You can choose your more or less on various props there, and it's definitely a fun way to enhance your viewing experience if used responsibly. So go check it out. Use the code CLNS to sign up to help us out here on the show if you want to support the show. Other notable takeaways, I'll just say I had a little boost of love for Brad Stevens as I realized that O'Shea Brissett is like the perfect fill-in starter for a March game against the Washington Wizards, and he's just like waiting to be let go, to be unleashed, and to show us his grit and tenacity, and in particular his nose for offensive rebounds. He's just waiting to be able to inject his energy into the game, and he got a lengthy amount of time in this one. How many minutes did he play? 28. Almost 29. 1 of 5, including an airball free throw.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But yeah, lots of energy, lots of fun from O'Shea Brissett, and it's just like the perfect guy to be able to throw out here. And if he does cop an injury, which obviously would still be unfortunate, that doesn't necessarily have like long-term playoff implications as well. So I was thankful for Brad Stevens. I was thankful for O'Shea Brissett during this one.
More energy, baby. Yeah, more energy. Yeah, he's perfect. He's hilarious, dude. Just from the beginning, it's been the one thing that he can't do is put the orange ball thing into the basket. Like the goal of the game that we all love. He's just not good at that specific thing. But because he's 6'8" and athletic and tries hard and is a good guy, like he is going to stick around in the NBA as a 10th, 11th, 12th man, I think, for a long time. And yeah, you're right, especially on this team where like typically you've got good spacing. Maybe when you get into the fourth quarter and you're up 30 against the Wizards, then the spacing can become a little bit of an issue. But I think down the stretch, especially in March, like having a guy like that can just be big, strong, aggressive on the boards, get you some extra possessions. I think like when you talk about value over replacement guys, if you were to miss Houser for 10 days or something like that, you're not going to, I don't think, notice a huge impact on like the overall performance of the Celtics. Because I do think that he does give you some stuff that Houser doesn't. Some more like, defensively, he can move his feet a little bit more and stuff like that. So I do like that. But man, yeah, every time he puts it, to be fair, he did go 5 for 6 from the line, which is a better free throw percentage than Jason Tatum tonight. So all misses count for the same, all wins count for the same. So I respect that he, who cares if you airball one? It all counts for one. But O'Shea, Good guy. I know you were a fan early to make sure we could keep getting the vlogs, and I mean that's another tick. Everybody seems to like him. To keep the content coming, Brissy.
Yeah, he's all vibes, as someone said in the chat here. As Lucas Dunn said here in the chat, O'Shea, great vibes guy. There's a lot of the vlog that I don't personally find interesting, like a lot of the fashion stuff. Admittedly, I'll like sort of fast forward through that.
What do you mean? You're a young guy. You're wearing your first of the floor t-shirt.
Yeah,
You
noticed.
Oh yeah, I just noticed as soon as I was going to comment on whatever you were wearing. I was like, oh, there you go. I recognize that logo.
Yep. Yeah, got to wear your own podcast t-shirt like a cool guy, right? That's what cool people do.
Cool young guys at it again.
Yep. We're all very cool here on the show.
That's good.
Other takeaways from this game.
How about Crypto P, our
yes.
guy?
Career high in assists.
Double, 14 and 13, 5 boards. He ended up getting the 2 for 5 from 3. But, I mean, it's tough when he's out there with that crew because he's running. I talked about it before. He's out there running the show with, like, a pretty gross lineup. And so, like, the numbers are going to be bad when there isn't gravity around him. Because, like, he's not and there's a reason he is who he is, and the contract is the contract that he has. Like, if he was 20% more athletic and able to create more separation and create more plays for himself and others, then we wouldn't probably be able to keep him on the roster. So, like, in this context, it's like, how much can Pritchard really do? Kind of makes sense. He ends up going, like, 6 for 15. He did have a couple, like, shots I really liked that he missed, like some mid-range stuff that I've been kind of begging him to go to a bit more. He just missed them. But I like the approach. Man, the assist-to-turnover stuff continues to be, like, I mean, this is going to boost the shit out of his assist-to-turnover ratio, 13 to 1 tonight, because he was already, like, 5.5 to 1 assist-to-turnover on the season, which, like, as a backup guard is, like, especially on a team like this with all the weapons around you, that's all you really need to do to be effective and impactful, which is why, like, you look at the three-point shooting numbers for Pritchard on the season, he's only at, like, 38%. And if you were to tell me that before the season, I'd be like, kind of disappointing. But he's actually taken leaps in the playmaking department, which is completely made up for it's not even like he's shooting badly, but any of the, like, kind of shortcomings from an expectation point of view with the shooting, he's made up for from a playmaking perspective, which I think is probably more important.
Yeah, and hugely important in this game where, like, I know this is just me freaking out, but when it did get down to 20, maybe got down to like 18 at some point, and I'm mainly freaking out from a net rating perspective at this point in the season. I just want to maintain, like, elite levels of efficiency, right, on offense and defense. So, like, let's just keep the deficit alive. And there were stretches where we were struggling to score, and a lot of that was, Pritchard missing threes because that was sort of the only shot available during some stretches of the game. But then we also saw, like, multiple successful pick and roll possessions with Pritchard and Cornette, and Pritchard just diming him up and setting up Cornette perfectly. So the playmaking is, like you say, really, really come along. It's great to see.
Move over cookies and cream, dude. Pritchard and Cornette, the corn hub to PP connection is just
there. You go.
That's not my best work, but like anytime Pritchard got trouble, it was like Cornette's just kind of right there. They've got a really nice chemistry going, and, like, that's, you love to see that.
People often evaluate team depth based on, like, what contribution will they give you in the playoffs. And even when we talk about, like, the 14th or 15th roster spot, it's like, well, will they play in the playoffs? What can they give us in the playoffs? But, like, to me, like, this is the true value of depth, where you need to rest guys, where you've got guys out injured, and you have guys who have stayed focused, Peacorn, all season. Have they stayed focused all season to the point where they can come in and, like, play within the flow of our offensive system and do so successfully against other quote-unquote NBA teams in the case of the Wizards. And this is really the depth being on display. Like, most of these guys won't touch the court beyond warm-ups in the playoffs, but they will spell our important players or our more important players throughout this stretch of the regular season to ensure, hopefully, that everyone's rested and ready for the playoffs. So this is the depth on display tonight, which you love to see.
Dude, the depth on this team is... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, just Julius here. Why don't you guys drink?
Yeah.
I believe we're on, like, a unofficial pre-Vegas cleanse. I'm drinking a kombucha. Jake's drinking water, I guess.
I've got water.
Yeah.
I'm on a pre-playoffs cleanse. There
you go.
Dude, if you've been on the playback streams last weekend, I didn't get home till like 4 a.m. It took me till like Tuesday to recover. Then I went out to a concert on Wednesday, home at 1 a.m. Like, I'm washed, dude. Like I can't be doing this stuff. And if I also start drinking after every Celtics game before the playoffs, I'm trying to be like Al Horford. I'm trying to get to 37, 38, 39. Prime of my life. So we got to be strategic, not playing back to back, stuff like that. So
everything in moderation.
Exactly. Playoff wins. There will definitely be some drinks flowing. There's absolutely for sure.
I have a gig in the city this Thursday night, and then we've got 2, I think, podcasts on Friday morning our time, Jake. Speaking
of,
yeah. Do we want to plug that? So
I mean,
do you want to do it?
No, you do it, dude.
Well, it's like 99% confirmed at this point. I think we're waiting on the final confirmation. But after the Bucks game, the night after the Bucks game, that's going to be Thursday night at 6 p.m. We've got Cedric Maxwell coming on the show, the 1981 Finals MVP, coming on to chop it up, talk Celtics, talk about the season thus far, obviously react to the Bucks game and talk about how things are shaping up for the playoffs. So that's obviously exciting because of his experience as a Boston Celtic, as an NBA player, and more recently as a broadcaster. But exciting for us as well. We've never had, I think, a current or former NBA player on the show. So good times ahead, Jake.
Oh yeah, this is another milestone. We started out with the making the parents or the fathers of Celtics players circuit. Shout out Grant Williams' dad. For being
all the dads
one.
are welcome, by the way.
All the dads, exactly. The more dads, the better, always. But yeah, so that's going to be awesome. Hopefully the Bucks game gives us a bit of juice. Hopefully coming off a win, but that's obviously huge for us, and hopefully you guys are all keen for that one. Question for you, Ben. Jaden Springer, NBA player.
Oh well. Not according to the referees, who are treating him like some sort of second-class citizen out there.
Jeez, he got killed out there.
Who was it? I'm just trying to scroll through my notes here. Omarui?
Omarui.
Yeah, who Al Horford shook him, like judo throwed him to the floor a few possessions or a few quarters earlier in the game. Springer tried to do the same thing, immediately double-teched, and it just got worse from there. It was rough. And the shot does not look good.
Oh, the shot is bad.
Defense also doesn't look that good either. I was
honest. Coming in, everybody's like, he played awesome defense on Steph and Luka, and that's, I guess, probably technically true. But I have not seen him. He's not very big. Like, he's pretty small. So it's like, what role does he have? Like, what's his NBA comp? I don't really get it. Like, Marcus Smart was a really good offensive player still. For you to be a negative on one end, but also like not being elite on the other end. Hopefully I'm wrong. I've been someone who's been pretty low on Springer from the get-go. Like, hopefully the Philly to Boston Magic curse kind of just kicks in at some point and he becomes really good at basketball. But I think he's probably more of like a trade chip than he is like. I think it's more of a salary as like something you can trade as opposed to like a veteran's minimum, just a little bit more as opposed to him believe. But also maybe they think they can fix him and develop him. He's still only 21, but like, and again, watching guys like this play in this context is also always going to be bad. Like in the garbage time against the G League Wizards, on one hand, it's like you want to see him play well in that context, but on the other hand, it's like he needs a little bit of structure in order to potentially look successful. The real question is like, where the fuck was Jordan Walsh, and why is he not in Washington, and why is he not going to be there tomorrow for the Pistons game?
Well, just like, and I've been watching this Pats documentary, and I've never been a Pats fan, I'm just trying to remember the names here. So like when, was it Drew Bledsoe went out, Brady comes in and suddenly rises to the ranks with Houser out. Do we now get the Walshy call up? Do we get Walshy in the rotation?
Please.
Dynasty.
This is it. This is the time. I can't bring myself to watch Dynasty. It sounds like it's like, I thought it was just going to be Patriots porn, but it sounds like they keep just focusing on all the negative stuff.
Yeah, bunch of cheats.
I'm like, why would I put myself through that? Maybe I'll watch the second half when they get to the second part of the Dynasty.
Yeah, it's a well-made documentary, but it's clear the angle was very, very predetermined.
I'm not about that. But yeah, the Walsh and Drew Peterson. Drew Peterson's low-key kind of been cooking, and he looks like someone who could be like a Houser replacement, just another tall white guy sniper with a little off the bounce, little dribble game to him as well. But There are two travesties from this game. The fact that the courts are 1 feet too close to the fans, and that Jordan Walsh has not been called up to the big dogs at this point, because I could have seen this coming a mile away. Where is Jordan Walsh?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Wick, you're slacking, man. We need Walsh on the expedited helicopter ride straight up to DC mid-game. Get him on the court. He doesn't need to warm up. He's fucking Walshy. Now, Kristaps Porzingis, speaking of not playing, has not played for some time, like since Denver, I want to say.
Denver's the last game.
Yeah, and he looked fine. You tweeted this out, Jake, that he looked fine all throughout and up to the end of that game.
I got it here.
We've not seen him since. While you're grabbing that, I'll just play the update from Joe Mazzulla he gave pre-game earlier this evening.
Joe, how's Kristaps progressing, and is it possible he could be a go tomorrow?
It's progressing well. I think he's getting a shooting time tomorrow. Anything's possible. We'll see how he feels.
Anything's possible. That's the update. Not much of an update, Joe. So that you could go. It's almost a bit of in terms of how one perceives that, you're at like an emotional fork in the road, Jake. It's like either they're being super cagey because they don't want to say we're just resting him because we want to rest him and nothing's wrong with him, or something's kind of wrong with him. We don't want to create a media stir by admitting what's going on, and so we're just going to keep our cards close to our chest. So which way are you leaning there?
It's so weird, and I'm really annoyed at myself for not uploading this thing, because I uploaded it and then I took it off and I didn't re-upload it. But I have to assume that it's bubble wrap, because like he finished the Denver game completely fine. I went back and watched the fourth quarter, and all the way to the end, he's like fighting hard. He's going for rebounds. He had this awesome like transition. He caught the ball, pump fake, made a move, pull up over Jokic, got a rebound, soared like a giant Latvian god, caught the rebound, pushed the pace, took another three, got a rebound right at the buzzer, offensive, tried to tip it back in. And so he looked completely fine up to the very end of that Denver game. And so therefore for him to now have missed 5 or 6 games in a row is very peculiar. Now, the frustrating thing is they can't obviously come out and be like, yeah, so we're just not playing Porzingis because we know that he's incredibly important for our chances to win a title. And in the midst of us being in a bunch of national games, like we played like both Phoenix games were national games. They can't just not play him. Mm-hmm. But they also can't say that he's resting. So it's a little bit of cat and mouse happening here. I tend to lead towards him being fine, but every game that he's not out there is me kind of talking myself more into like maybe something is wrong. And now here's the 36 seconds clip of Porzingis. See, Derek White finds him, pump fake, 2 hard dribbles, pull up, Kristaps Porzingis nails it. Look at him jogging backwards, dude.
Yeah,
that's not a man.
Very hamstring intensive.
That's right. Takes a couple of bangs from Jokic in the post, no big deal. Soars. Rebound, outlet, that's fine. And they find him for a 30-footer, which he misses, but like form looks good. And then on the buzzer, like, sorry to bring the game back up to everybody, but like, that's that or he all looks like completely fine. So It's so weird to me that he's now just been out since then. So like,
he probably pulled up a little sore the following day. And they're like, okay, you just need a bit of a rest because of where we're at in the season. Let's just extend that rest, and you can just kind of rest as long as we like. On top of that, we've got an easy schedule coming up here.
Sure.
The Suns are frauds. We play the Pistons and the Wizards and a bunch of other shitty teams.
Yeah.
Maybe including the Bucks. I don't know. I'm in two minds about bringing him back for the Bucks, right? Because that's an important game. It's probably the final important game of the season. There's a Thunder game later, and the importance for that for us might be determining what final seed the Nuggets end up with. Like, do we want to push them down to the 2 seed, see whether or not that benefits us, or allow them up in the 1 seed, whatever might benefit us as far as making their playoff journey more difficult. That's kind of the only importance of that Thunder game. So scrap all that. It's really just this Bucks game that is important to us as a final measuring stick. Do you bring KP for that to sort of like try everything on for size, or do you let him rest and kind of allow ourselves an excuse or a redundancy of sorts if we do end up losing that one?
Yeah, it's like on one hand, the perfect scenario is he comes back and we just like steamroll the Bucks with KP in that game. But like Ozra in the comments here, don't let Giannis steamroll KP and hurt him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not worth bringing him back for that game, probably. Like, playing against Giannis is not a spot that, there are some teams like the Wizards or the Pistons where you're probably going to be fine. Granted, obviously, anything can happen. Like, you see Sam Houser today, right? Like, anything can happen. But, like, the way that Giannis plays, you're just kind of asking for trouble. But, again, yeah, same. I was just about to say that, RJ. Giannis was a late scratch today, which is very frustrating because I woke up at 5 a.m., excited to watch Bucks Suns with Giannis, and then he's a late scratch with a hamstring.
Yep.
Which there's a very good chance he's not playing in this Celtics game later in the week. So it might not matter either way. Like, the most important thing for both teams is that Kristaps, and more importantly, even more so, is Giannis being healthy. Like, them pushing it with him would be weird, and so who knows? Maybe it just won't matter either way.
Yeah, and look, I'll probably bet my house on the fact that if it were the playoffs right now, he would be playing, right?
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it's definitely precautionary, and it's a matter of when, not if, as far as when he comes back. So obviously keeping a close and very, very obsessive eye on that one. Misk points from this one. Let's see. Jrue Carter was cooking in this one. When Jrue Holiday hit Jordan Poole in the face, Jrue Carter called out the fact that it was not the hardest that Poole had been hit in the face recently. He also gave advice to Abby for the broadcast tomorrow. His advice was to wear a red wig and mention 2-for-1s at the end of every quarter. Little note to scale there.
Yeah, dude. Firstly, I'm very excited for the Abby Chin broadcast tomorrow. Like, I think that's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, Jrue Carter stays cooking. I think my favorite call of the day, and I'm not hearing everyone because I'm streaming on playback. And if you're not,
sure.
If you're not there, playback.tv/Celtics blog, come watch us. Come watch the games with us every single game. We'll be there. But Houser hit, I'm not sure which 3 it was, one of the 10. I'm assuming one of the ones 5 through 10. He was like, he's gonna be arrested for arson, and I'm like,
yeah,
that's good. That's maybe one of my favorite ones so far because he was on fire. But yeah, Jrue Carter doing well. I am noticing there's starting to be some pushback there.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
Just people think he's just like he's a little too Mark Jonesy. I think would be maybe the way that I would describe people's criticism for him. Maybe a little over the top, a little cheerleadery. That's the criticism I'm seeing. I'm not necessarily I agree with it, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I really like Jrue. I don't harbor any of those feelings myself. I saw some people say like too online as a criticism. Yeah. My response to that is like every announcer worth their salt has a bag that they go into during blowouts. And Drew's bag happens to be really deep, and he's a young guy. And so, of course, it's going to be very online adjacent because he's a young, like, citizen of the internet. Like, he's a millennial, if not Gen Z, I suppose.
I think he might be a Gen Z.
Jeez, that makes me feel old.
Yeah.
But so suffice to say, like, he's obviously going to be influenced by the online discourse because everyone of my and his generation is. So I don't know how you can really use that as a criticism. That's just like, if you're new to this profession and you grew up in the time that Jrue has grown up in, of course, that's going to be part of your personality and your approach to the role. So I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah, I totally. All I really care about, do you sound awesome in the big moments? And like I think, has been great so far. Part of it though is I feel like we had a lot of national games. So, like, I'm not going to hear him on those ones. And then, obviously, Gorman is still doing the home game. So, I haven't heard him in the... Like, my favorite thing about Mike Gorman is his ability to just, like, let the big moments be the big moments without having to insert himself too much. Just, like, obviously, Tatum, got it. Like, it's simple. He lets the game breathe. And that's, like, what I personally like about announcers the most is the focus on those big moments. The rest of the stuff is kind of whatever. But yeah. It's also literally been half a season. So
yeah, and it must be, I mean, I assume like somewhat hard to develop a rhythm if you're only doing like not even every second game. It's just the road games, and then even then, not all of them.
Now he's off again. Yeah, because like he's back, and then Bucks is national and at home, and so it's like he's going to be. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, he's great. I really like Jrue. And he's been on this podcast multiple times, and he's always been super generous with his time, and he's always been a great hang as well. So shouts to Jrue Carter there. Other missed points. We talked about Springer and the brutal whistle. We talked about the biff with him and Rui.
He's a tough one.
I suck at names.
Rui, I believe.
Thank you.
But yeah, when I first was trying to... Don't go back and listen to what it sounded like when I tried it on playback at first today, because it was bad. But that's a safe place. You can't ping me on that one. We got a couple of non things from this game as well. If we want to hit those and then get out of here.
Well, I was gonna say just Svi Mihalik as well, like low key hit some big buckets.
Hey.
If you can call it,
You were worried. You were worried.
I
in the
was.
fourth quarter. I didn't even know what the score was for the second half.
That is my state of being, I'm afraid. And, real ones know. I'm sure there's plenty of me fan archetypes out there. But Svi hit some big shots in this one. Late in the third quarter, when the Wiz had been outscoring us for a stretch, he hit a big three to kind of settle things down a little bit. And then he did it in the midway through the fourth quarter in the same situation as well. Just kind of staved off the run a little bit and helped settle my nerves a little bit.
Hey, he might get some run now with Houser out, and I think that he can. Like, if they don't go to Brissett, I do think he could. I think Houser's better, for especially like defensively. Like, they're different galaxies, which says a lot about both Houser and Svi's defense. Houser's just way better, but Svi, I think, good shooter, not a Houser level shooter, but can provide that kind of spacing, and that might be something that they lean into. I think giving Svi some run with some of the starters, especially in a game like tomorrow, I'd be here for it. I like that he gives you a little athleticism in the Houser spot that Houser doesn't quite give you either. But yeah, let's see how we go. I liked it from Svi today.
All right, Jake, what do you got to get us out of here?
Well, we got two internet-related things here, and we'll start with the Joe Mazzulla 2010 to bring West Virginia into the Final Four. We got a clip here of his post-game interview. Note the accent specifically.
Expected scoring. What does it feel like to go to the Final Four with your teammates?
It's an amazing feeling, and it's not only that we want to go there for our teammates, but the passion and the emotion that Hugs coaches with, and he's a great representative of the state, and we couldn't have done it without these people.
The 1-3-1 zone, you brought that after playing it under John Beilein. You're the one that talked Bob Huggins into playing it. Are you happy you did?
Yeah, well, I had so much time sitting on the bench freshman year that I was able to, just kind of learn the 1-3-1. And, once I brought to Hugs the length that we have, and, that just goes to show what a great coach Hugs is, for him to listen to his players. And, he respects us and I respect him. And, we're going to Indianapolis.
Well, have a great time there. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's for West Virginia.
West Virginia. I've never heard of West Virginia before. Is that a D1 school?
Wait, West Virginia?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm shitting on Spoon. I've lots of love for WVU.
You got me there, dude. I spent a lot of time on the bench freshman year. I'm like, dude, what? Like, how did he get rid of the accent? Like, bring it back, bro. Like, I always forget that he's from the area. And like to see him like have the Boston twang in that interview is awesome. And like there was recently the clip of Boogie Cousins and John Wall talking, and how like Boogie was like, "You fuckers wouldn't pass me the ball while freaking Joe Mazzulla's guarding me." Yeah, Joe Mazzulla's a dog, dude. He's locking up Boogie Cousins in college.
Yeah, dude.
And then obviously the most important piece of this is like he brought the 1-3-1 zone to Huggins, like already kind of starting the coaching path. Like it's just super cool.
I wonder if that's the moment where he got on Brad Stevens' radar in 2010, where he's like, this guy might have some coaching chops. Better keep an eye on this Joe Mazzulla guy.
Back in 2010 when Brad was also like 28 years old or whatever.
Yeah, like 30 or whatever. Yeah, I think he was approximately 30 years old in 2010.
Yeah. That's a Providence twang. See, like I'm glad. See, this is why I need you guys in here, Eric Weiss, to fact check me here, because I don't know. It all sounds pretty similar.
I would love to know from people from the Massachusetts area if it's like a rite of passage in your like early to mid 20s, if you do try and like shake the accent a little bit in order to make yourself more compatible, at least through the country or universally. Because I know in Australia, if you move from a regional area to Sydney, often they'll shake the Aussie twang pretty quickly as well if they're young enough for it not to be so embedded in their mind.
Yeah.
So anyway, other internet quirks from today, Jake? What else you got?
So the college, like the NCAA tournaments are on right now, and Eddie House's son has been like cooking, and here's a video of Eddie House celebrating his son doing awesome things.
House with 5. House off glass for 2. And it's a 2-possession game.
It cut out like right at the end, but it's like, that's my mother effing son.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's go, Eddie House.
Hell
dude.
yeah. Hell yeah. Some dad
man.
pride. I mean, I can only imagine, like, my 3-year-old can write the first 3 letters of her name right now, and that just fills my heart with joy and pride. To watch your kid score, like, game-winning buckets in a high-stakes, like, D1 college game, I cannot even imagine. That must be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a million times. The closest thing I have to kids is Jalen and Jason, and then that's pretty far.
Two good kids.
Look, very proud over here. But yeah, man. Like Eddie House did a great job on the broadcast out in Portland and Utah.
Yep.
I thought I really like his cadence and pace to a game. But then you see him celebrating like that, and you remember like how that's how the kind of energy that he brought to playing the game for the Celtics as well was like just so much bravado, so much energy, screaming at the crowd, just like chest bumping. It was like to see him like living like that in the crowd. It just filled my heart with Celtic pride.
Celtic pride. That's probably a good place to end it. Just generally Celtic pride all around, and I'm sure for everyone in the chat as well, as we absolutely blow the pants off the Wizards, if you'll pardon the expression. Blow up in the chat. I'm younger than them, but they're also my kids. Love to hear it. We all have a universal feeling for the Jays. Absolutely. Bucks game coming up Wednesday night, like we said. Cedric Maxwell coming on the show here live on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel. Hang out with us live with Cedric Maxwell. Pop your questions in the chat, and we'll try and throw as many chat questions at him as possible. Interestingly, Jake, the Bucks are 3-1 without Giannis and 0-5 without Dame. Is Dame better than Giannis?
Yeah, I do think it's like very intriguing and notable that 2 of the best Bucks wins in the Doc era have come without Giannis, and Dame has looked his best when Giannis is not there. When it's like, if you're a Bucks fan, you'd kind of talk yourself into that being like a good thing. It's like, oh, see, Dame still got it. But I'd be like, clearly that they have not figured out the chemistry piece of this thing, and we're like 15 games from the playoffs. So it's like, you're running out of time here, folks. Also, again, the Bucks with this rest bullshit. The Clippers win they got that was huge. No Kawhi, Paul George on a back-to-back. They have 2 days. They have 2 days off coming into the Phoenix game. Meanwhile, Phoenix is the end of their road trip after having to play the Celtics twice, and the Bucks catch them on their last legs. So they look awesome, and Dame is fresh with rest. And then they also get 2 days off coming into the Celtics game, by the way, which is annoying. But, I mean, we pretty much get the same thing, considering we had 2 days off, and then this game, and then the next game. And Denver lost, which was actually a pretty sick game. The Denver Mavericks.
You see the Kyrie game winner? Holy shit.
Yeah, that was some left hand floater,
like Magic Johnson-esque, like skyhook from the free throw line. What the fuck was that?
Yeah. I watched
hate that it was Kyrie.
I hate that it was Kyrie too. But I watched that game, and I've been watching a bunch of Denver, and I'm like, they just don't play with the same level of intensity, like consistently, similar to how they did last year, where they kind of cruised their way to the regular season, and they ramped the intensity all the way up to a 10 for the Celtics game. And all the games since, I've watched them play defense and offense, honestly. It's just not the same level of focus and intensity, which is annoying because I don't think it's a representative of how they actually are. So I can convince you into being like, see, they can lose. They lost to the Suns and the Mavericks. We're better than the Suns and the Mavericks.
I had that exact thought earlier today.
Yeah, but they're lying and they're trying to trick us.
Brutal. I hate them.
Yeah.
Well, look, 6 p.m. Thursday night live here with Cedric Maxwell. We'll probably squeak out another pod, probably Tuesday night around 8 p.m. East if you want to come hang out for that one. In the meantime, Jake Eisenberg, love your work, mate. Celtics Late Night is out.